Hey, what's good, fam? It's Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Nick Saban has added another former NFL coach to his coaching staff as he reloads for 2021. We're going to talk about Doug Marrone, who's the new offensive line coach at Alabama. But before we begin, hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. We appreciate you more than you know. Last week, Nick Saban added Bill O'Brien, who's going to be the offensive coordinator, former head football coach for the Houston Texans. This week, Nick Saban adds former Jacksonville Jaguar head football coach Doug Marrone to the staff. It's incredible when you step back and you look what Nick Saban is doing as he reloads and rebuilds this coaching staff. Following the departures of Steve Sarkisian, Kyle Flood, Jeff Banks, Charles Huff, all those guys did a great job helping Alabama have the perfect season in 2020. Those guys moved on to different opportunities. That's how it happens in the college football ranks. We see it time and time again. What does Nick Saban do? He does something that no other program across America can do. Go to the NFL and add coaches. Yeah, some coaches, from the NFL might come to the college ranks and be head football coaches and vice versa. I mean, we just saw that with Urban Meyer going to the NFL, getting an opportunity, right, for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But no other program is going out there and adding former head coaches to their staff as staff assistants and coordinators, right? I mean, that's the type of reach that Nick Saban has. That's the type of connections that Nick Saban has. And I think he's so far out in front of the game. We've talked about it before. He's playing chess while everybody out there is playing checkers. Adding the minds of NFL head coaches to the staff is incredible for several different reasons. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But let's kind of recap Doug Marrone's resume. From 2017 to 2020, he was a head football coach with the Jacksonville Jaguars. From 2015 to 2016, Marrone was the assistant head coach and the offensive line coach for the Jags. From 2013 to 2014, he was a head football coach with the Buffalo Bills, and he has some college coaching experience as well. He was a head football coach at Syracuse from 2009 to 2012. Similar to Bill O'Brien. So Bill O'Brien, who we've talked about before, we have a video out there on him. He was a head football coach at Penn State from 2012 to 2013. Did a great job resurrecting the Nittany Lions. Getting back to Doug Marrone. He was with the New Orleans Saints from 2006 to 2008. He was with the Jets from 2002 to 2005. So a lot of NFL head coaching experience. And when I look at kind of the additions, I'm really excited about them. I'm curious to see how these guys can translate to recruiting. And we're going to talk about the remaining coaches that are still on staff. And I think there's plenty of guys that can pick up the efforts from Charles Huff, Kyle Flood, Jeff Banks. Those guys did a great job recruiting. So I'm really excited about the addition of Doug Marrone and Bill O'Brien. I know people have different opinions about O'Brien. You guys can take that up with Nick Saban. But, I mean, kind of standing back and looking at this addition, it's great. I mean, so much knowledge from Doug Marrone. And I don't think you can look at it, well, these guys weren't good in the NFL, so they're not going to be good at the college ranks. That's not a connection because Nick Saban is a GM. Nick Saban is the head coach. He's the CEO of this organization. So Nick Saban clearly has done his due diligence, knows what he wants to add to the staff. And think about the NFL. I mean, I use Brian DeBall as a great example coming from the NFL. Nobody knew about him like they know about Doug Marrone or Bill O'Brien, but in 2017, he brought a little bit of the New England Patriots passing tree to Alabama, and they've been able to use that. And still to this day, I mean, you look kind of where the offense has transformed from 2017 to 2021 now, the offense is light years ahead of where it used to be. All right, these guys are scoring points at will. The game has changed. Nick Saban has changed his coaching philosophy. And going into the NFL, that means that he wants some NFL philosophy to continue to come to Alabama because let's face it, Alabama is sending guys to the league at will, and he wants NFL coaches coaching up his future NFL players. Makes perfect sense. Doug Marrone, I think it's a great hire. And, I think if you're a current player at Alabama, especially in the class of 2021, right? You come in, you lose Kyle Flood. You're like, okay, Nick Saban's going to add an offensive line coach, and it's going to be all systems go. But to get a former NFL coach, that's your position coach, those guys got to be ecstatic. Tommy and James Brockemeyer, J.C. Latham, Jaden Roberts, T.J. Ferguson, all those guys together got to be amped coming in with a guy who is coached at the highest level, Doug Marrone. I think it's a great move. And then recruiting-wise, why Alabama? Why not? These guys are winning at an incredible pace. These guys are putting more national championships and trophies on the shelves than anyone else out there. And now you got not only Nick Saban coaching, but you got guys who will provide you the tools to get to that next level. So I think it's a slam dunk on the recruiting side. And I think it's a slam dunk from the schematic standpoint of bringing that philosophy from the NFL and continuing to stay ahead of the curve in college football. We've already talked about Bill O'Brien a little bit and the experience that he brings. Remember, he was at Houston coaching the Texans from 2014 to 2020. He was also the GM there for a short time. He was at Penn State as well, head football coach 2012, 2013. And then he was with the New England Patriots from 2007 to 2011. So you see that Bill Belichick kind of stamp on Bill O'Brien, which Nick Saban likes. You know, him and Bill O'Brien, Nick Saban and Bill Belichick being really good friends. So it makes sense. And, you know, these two guys coming on board, great pickups and great acquisitions kind of going into 2021. Now, Nick Saban still has to add a running backs coach and a special teams and tight ends coach. All right. So there's been some names kicked around. People have talked about Lance Taylor, who's the current running backs coach at Notre Dame. People have mentioned Kevin Sumlin for the tight ends position. I'm not sure if that's smoke or if there's any truth to that. So we'll keep you posted at BamaInsider.com as we continue to figure out what's rumor and what's real. And, you know, there's a lot to go into as, you know, you kind of go into the spring season. So we'll keep you posted at BamaInsider.com. The coaches that remain at Alabama going into the later part of January, and we'll kind of start out at the top and kind of work our way down. You're going to have Pete Golding, who's a defensive coordinator. Now, 100%, you've heard me talk about this before. Texas wanted Pete Golding. They opened up the wallet, but I think Nick Saban really wanted Pete Golding to stay. And I think that Nick Saban and Pete Golding have a great relationship, and I think that Nick Saban is going to continue to give Golding opportunities. I think, you know, people have different opinions about Pete Golding. Look, Alabama's not perfect if the defense doesn't do their part. They did their part in 2020. You also have Charles Kelly, who coaches the safeties. Now, Kelly is a current defensive coordinator target for Missouri, so we'll keep you posted on that if anything does go down. You also have Carl Scott. And when you look to ace recruiters, who's left to recruit for Alabama, Carl Scott is certainly that guy. He is a fantastic recruiter, coaches the corners, and I think when you look to kind of these younger guys that recruit really well, Carl Scott is your guy, along with Holman Wiggins, who coaches the wide receivers. You heard Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle. Those guys talked about Holman Wiggins, and that's a big compliment, right? You've seen the wide receivers and how productive they've been over the last 2 years. A lot of that has to do with Holman Wiggins. Freddie Roach, who was a new acquisition to the staff for the 2020 season. He's a younger guy as well, working with the defensive line, who I thought played great, especially towards the end of the year. You look at the way Barmore played, Justin Ebogbe, DJ Dell, all those guys played at a very high level and helped Alabama get pressure on the quarterback in pivotal games. Sal Sinceri, still on the staff, outside linebackers coach, very underrated recruiter. I've heard, several guys talk about Sal Sinceri when we interview some of these young men that are coming to Alabama. And then you got Mike Stoops, who was a staff analyst, and he's also a current DC target for Missouri. So we'll keep you posted on, continue coaching movements in the world of college football back at BamaInsider.com. Well, I want to get your take. What do you think about Doug Marrone? What do you think about Bill O'Brien? Two former NFL coaches now coming to Tuscaloosa to continue this incredible run for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Sound off in the comment box. I want to get your feedback. And remember, hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. We really appreciate you guys watching this video. And we'll catch you next time right here on BamaInsider.com from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Kyle Henderson. Until next time, talk soon.